We're down here at Hunter Gather Cook today and we're going to do some deer butchery 101. So what we have here is a fallow doe. Doe is a lady deer. I know that because there's a little bit more meat around the back end. First things first with this is we need to get the natural packaging off. We begin up around here, so make sure your knife nice and sharp, and we're just literally coming in just around the end of the haunch here, or this is also known as a hock. This is the bit where you don't want to screw it up. Here we've got the Achilles tendon. If we go through that, we're going to be butchering this on the table because it can no longer hang on these. Now these are gambrels. So gambrels is just a way of hanging the deer like this, so you're nice and free to spin it around. So nice light strokes. So you can see there, Achilles tendon revealed, very carefully done. So now what we're going to do is start working down here. So if you come and have a look at this, you can see we've got the leg bone here. So we're just going to keep working down through that down to the belly. The thing is, when you're doing this, there's a lot of different ways that you'll find to actually hold the knife. There can be literally holding it like that and just, or doing light strokes like that, putting your finger on it so you have a bit more control. But a lot of the time it's quite a sort of, people often find it weird when you turn around and say skinning a deer is quite a therapeutic process, but trust me, it is. So you can see how we've made it all the way down to the belly here. Now what we can do is kind of work the skin over the back. There's a lot of different knives you can use. Here we use these Moro knives, really nice tools, hold their edge really nicely, but it's not all about the size of the knife. My favourite skinning knife is this one here, which as you can see, tiny dinky little thing. It's not about the size of it, it's how you use it. And it's almost a bit like a modern flint tool, really. The thing to do is to keep on the pelt, so keep the knife right on the pelt here, and as it comes down, just kind of rolls off. So now I've done one side of the haunch here, I've basically got to repeat that on the other side, being careful not to go through Achilles tendon. Actually doing this and butchering your own deer is something that is actually very simple to do at home. In terms of legality of doing it, main thing is find someone who can supply you with deer carcass. So gamekeepers, a lot of people who actually just go out stalking deer, worth getting in touch with them. And the nice thing about this, I mean, you'll see once the skin's off just how much meat is here. And I mean, you're talking, in terms of cost, this deer carcass set me back £77. The fillets alone, if you were to buy wild venison fillets, are going to cost you probably that if you were to go to an upmarket butcher's. So you get a lot of bang for your buck. Shame it's not a buck, it's a doe. Terrible. So we've now taken it down off the back haunches. So now what we need to do is work around and cut off the tail. This is the bit where we're going to find some fat on this beast. It's going to be on this bit here, which is actually quite hard to get through even with the knife. So look, I say one of the things that might happen when you're doing this is you might just take off as you're going. You can see you might get a hole in the pelt. We're not going to really keep the pelt, we're not going to be doing anything with it, so it doesn't really matter. But you might just take a nick off the actual surface here. You want to try to avoid doing that, but it does happen. This isn't for resale, this is for personal consumption, so it's not like it has to look pristine on a butcher's shelf. But as to your knife work, when you're doing this, it's quite important to try to keep the knife more on the actual pelt there, so you're not cutting into the meat. So we're almost at a point where Once you get it down over the backside or the back haunches, we can actually start to kind of work on this as a pair. So I'm going to get Dave in, and Dave's going to work on one side and I'm going to do the other, and that way we need to make sure that we take the actual skin off at the same rate so we work down. So at this point we can actually also use an axe for skinning as well. So Dave's going to come in and show you how it works using an axe for skinning. Sounds brutal, but it's not.
So this axe, it's a little bit different to your normal axe. Obviously you have the blade, same as usual. But at the back it has a rounded pommel, and that will help to push through the skin, push the skin and the meat apart, and just makes things a lot quicker, really.
This is a bit more caveman. It's quite a nice feeling.
What I'm doing is I'm putting my hand under here, sort of bunching up the skin so you've got it nice and taut, and then taking the rounded side of the axe, just hitting it. As you can see, it comes away pretty easily. You can still do it with a knife. This is pretty quick. When you get to a bit that's a bit, you know, it's a bit stringy, it's holding on a bit too much, you can flip the axe round and just get through it a little bit and then carry on.
Done.
There we go.
So there we have one deer skinned. Nice organic packaging there. So now we've got the skin off. Next stage is to actually start the butchery process. First of all, looking at the front end of the deer here. So here we've got our front haunches and the neck. This is really something that kind of lends itself to slow cooking, because these are quite tough cuts because they're hard working muscles. As you come down here, we've got the ribs here, which again, more for sort of slow cooking. And then on the back here, we've got the fillets. This is also known, what we call it on a deer, this is the back strap. So all the way down here, it's also known as the saddle. As you come up here, we've got the back haunches here. Now on here, they're quite hard working muscles, but the thing is with these is that they can lend themselves to slow cooking and fast cooking. So down here is your best cut, really nice fast cooking, or if you fancy it, raw. Inside here, we have something very special. I'm not talking about the kidneys. Behind the kidneys, we have something that is, I suppose, kind of a secret cut. In here, we've actually got behind there, all of this is suet. We've got the pencil fillets, also known as the tenderloins, and that is your butcher's cut, really. So that's the kind of the creme de la creme of deer. Very hard to find, because more often than not, whoever's cut up the deer is taking them home for tea. So in order to get to this special cut and the best cut, I need to actually remove all this belly skin. Now, this is something that you don't need to waste this. This can actually go straight through the mincer. But what I have to do is just be quite careful as I'm coming down, because I don't want to go in to the edge of the actual back strap. So you just run your knife right the way down until you hit the rib cage there, and then just follow round the rib cage. And that, although it's not a good sort of quality cut, there's no point in wasting that. That can just go straight through the mincer. So we're going to stick that in the bowl there. So to get to our secret cuts, we need to also remove the kidneys. Now the kidneys, all this hard, solid fat we've got around here is actually suet. Now this is proper suet. This isn't your kind of vegetarian rubbish. This is good quality stuff. So keep that, because that's quite good for fat content. You just tear those off like that. So guys, if you come in here, you can see the pencil fillet starting to reveal itself. So if I just pull this bit of suet off here, you can now see here, this is your pencil fillet or tenderloin. So I'm just going to remove all of that and just take them out. First of all, take our blade and just slice in just up to the very top, because we want to cut that piece of tenderloin right up. And you can see how it goes up to the very top. So this is such a tender cut that actually there's not a huge amount of knife work involved. You can see just with my finger there, I'm just parting it like that. So here's the fillet that I'm after. So once I've done that, just work my finger up to the top, a bit more knife work, and then I can just take the knife in, slice that muscle off at the very top. Now I can start kind of working this out. So to take this out, it's very delicate knife work, because you'll see that if I pull too hard on it, it's so tender it will just kind of fall apart. So in that side, but you can see how I'm holding the knife just really delicately, basically just splitting it and taking it straight off that bone. So now I come in here, right up against the edge of the spine, pull that down and just work it from each side to the next until it's literally just clinging on by one side of the fillet. You kind of work up and just gradually, I mean, you can see there, if I pull that, just look at how tender that is. Here is your pencil fillet or your tenderloin. Just about the best cut. And I don't think we can wait, Dave.
I don't want to wait.
Dougie, you got your frying pan hot? There you go. I'll just get this one out and I think a little bit of a premature snack. So whilst Dougie is flash frying our pencil fillets, we're going to move on to the next stage. Now this here is the shoulder, so we're going to be taking these off. And there's something quite weird about them, which you'll see when I take it off. But this cut here, this is going to be what we're going to mince up into our burger mix. So to take off the front shoulder, what we're looking for here, and this kind of goes back to the seam butchery, is that we're looking for kind of a point of reference to cut. Because looking at that, there's no clear idea of where to go first. So just grab the shoulder, give it a bit of a wiggle, and you can actually see the edge here as you come round where the shoulder blade is. So if I push it like that, I can see that the edge of the shoulder blade is there. So that's going to be my first kind of point of reference of where to cut. So I'm going to come in just up here. Once I've cut through there, I can stick my finger in, I can feel the edge of that shoulder blade. So it's just a question of working around it as I come up. So up here you can start to sort of see the edge of that, the sort of cartilage. So it's just a case of working your way around and just feeling as you go. So there's the cartilage on the edge of the shoulder blade. So we just follow that round. This is where it gets a bit weird. So if I hold that open now, so I've literally just released this sort of shoulder off the top. So now I'm just going to cut straight through there. And this is a bit where you're suddenly like, hang on, it's not actually connected by a ball and socket. It's literally just connected by muscle. So there is our front shoulder. So the next cut we're going to do is just here, which is the fillets.
Pencil fillets ready.
Ooh. So here's the finest cut. A nice little butchery break.
Just been seared off lightly in a pan, seasoned. And as these guys have got nice bloody hands, I thought I'd bring them some sticks.
So thoughtful, Dougie. And that is just melts in the mouth. So next cut, now we've had a nice little meaty snack, is to actually take off the back strap or the fillets which run down here. By the time they get to about here, they start becoming neck fillet. So we're only going to cut them down to about there. So this is again where the seam butchery comes in. It's all about kind of looking for these points of reference on the animal. So if we look here, I can see that there is just under this layer of fat here, very thin layer, you can see a slight divot, and that is basically where you've got the ribs coming around, but here you've got the fillet. Other point of reference is up here, you can see the top end of the haunch here. So that's what I'm going to be cutting around there and then straight down the spine here. So it's actually kind of, I suppose, a certain amount of anatomy comes into it. And the thing is, when you're doing it, it's important to sort of map out where you're going to go first. That way you kind of know where you're going to be following. So for my first cut, I'm going to just go right in around the edge of the haunch like that. So don't have to be too careful, you can literally cut straight in and you actually feel the bones and the spine in there. The next one is to actually run the knife right in, just get it opened up. And what you're doing here is going, so you can hear there, the ribs. So I just follow that, but it's all about keeping the pressure going that way and then down as you go, so you're right up against the spine. So you can see there the fillet as it comes open. So now I've released it here, you can actually see where your next cut is, which if I go like that, I can see that the edge of the fillet runs along here. So that's my next bit to cut through. So again, just mark it out because you don't want to go into the fillet, you just want to cut along the edge of it. See, covering that here, we've got the top half of the flank. So we're just gonna, you can pretty much just peel that up. And this reveals the fillet in all its glory. So there is your fillet. There is a lovely piece of fallow fillet or backstrap. So this, in terms of sort of quality of meat, this is very much at a premium. I mean, this is a wild venison fillet. If you were to go into the butchers and ask to buy this, probably we're looking at what? What do you reckon, Dave?
No, I never bought any.
Probably about, I mean, that would probably set you back about 30 quid. Bear in mind it's wild, so it's going to be at a premium. But that's the thing, you buy a carcass like this, you know, you're talking what, I paid 77 quid for it. You know, that's almost half of what it's worth. And there's two of them. So yeah, not bad going. So Dougie says £40 a kilo in London. So now we've taken off the back straps here, we're now going to remove the ribs. So for this, we need a bigger tool, which is why we have Dave.
What?
We're going to use the machete. Now, this is actually my grandfather's from when he lived in Colombia. It's about, I think it's from 1930s, still going strong. So what we're trying to do here is just cut straight down. We're going to go in straight through these ribs down here and remove that. So it's a bit gory, but when we get to here, just a couple of cuts. Oop. One set of ribs removed. So this is actually quite a gruesome bit. This is where we actually remove the spine. You can go a bit ninja if you really want to, but there is a better approach, which is literally take the spine, grab it in one hand, and then just pull up, and you just feel it break off, and then a bit of twisting, and then takes a little bit of work, and then just pull off. So here we've still got quite good meat on here. Got the whole neck there. Spinal column, very good for stock. So just going to stick that down there. So you can see now we're down to just the 2 back haunches. So I think I'm good to do these, Dave. So if you want to take those back to Dougie
Sure, mate.
in the kitchen.
Dougie.
We're just going to separate the 2 haunches because obviously in the middle we've got the pelvis. So we actually want to take each haunch off that. I'm just going to take off one to begin with. I just want to cut in straight down the crotch, I guess. Because I'm just going to follow round the edge of the pelvis. So one thing I will need to get through in the back is just here we have that ball and socket. So if I open it up there, you can see here your ball and your socket. So there we go. We have a nice clean back haunch, and that is pretty weighty. So guys, there is your Deer Butchery 101. The thing about these animals is, you know, this is something that we've been doing it for years. I've just shown you how it's been done for hundreds of years, and the amount of meat you get from this for what you're paying for it is amazing. I paid just under 80 quid for this, and I could probably fill my freezer with it. So it is something that is so worthwhile learning how to do. So, so once you've got your haunches off, I mean, there's still to actually do some seam butchery on this and take apart this haunch. Something I could say I'm going to save for another video. But other things you could do that, you could cure that as a whole, make some venison prosciutto. So the amount of possibilities are endless, and the amount of meat you get from it is ridiculous.